Welcome back to our video series. The Elephant isn't just a transaction video package. Right now we're on video 4. This video we're going to talk about commitment. Commitment, think about this, is very much related to trust. And what is trust? It's time. What is commitment? It's time. You can't just say to a client, I'm going to be committed to you. It takes time. You have to have the unfurling of time before you can truly demonstrate your commitment. So think about this. When you're selling a car, you're a banker, you're whatever, you're selling something, you're selling a phone, whatever it is, there's a commitment that's inherent to that device, right? The device performs. It does what it's supposed to do. There's a commitment there. And you as the deliverable or the person selling, let's say, that phone, have certain obligations. You unpackage the device, you demonstrate the device, you sell the device, you give the client a receipt, and you tell them, call me if you need anything. Typically what happens now is you tell them to call an 800 number. But if you make your commitment to the client, and keep in mind, it's the third elephant in the room. We've already covered trust as an emotion, as something distinctive, as transparency. We talked about that earlier. We talked about distinction, what makes you different than anyone else selling a bank account, or in this case a phone. And it's pretty much related to commitment as well. But what makes you different? Remember, we talked about distinction, telling your story, talking about the client's story, your values, your convictions, your courage, your non-negotiables. That's what makes you distinctive. You have your own story, and you're bringing that to your client as it relates to business. Remember, we talked about that. In this video, we're going to talk about commitment. And commitment is about several things, including time, establishing expectations, and ethics and standards. Let me say that again. It's about time, it's about expectations, and it's about ethics and standards. So think about it like this. Let me give you a quick example. Again, when I was in the banking industry, and keep in mind, I did millions of dollars in banking. I was doing more banking than sometimes certain branches in Albuquerque, New Mexico. And the way I would do it is I would not bring a bank brochure to a meeting. I never brought a bank brochure to a meeting. Think about it like this. When you're selling something, particularly those of you that work for a corporation, did you write that brochure? Did you write that website? If the answer is no, the elephant in the room is your client knows you didn't write that brochure. The client knows you didn't write out that website. So again, you have to be committed, distinctive, and earn trust. So if you can talk to the client and say to them, for example, when I was banking, I didn't bring a brochure to a meeting and I was trying to earn a relationship, here's what I would say to a client. And I would use my phone as a prop. All of you probably have a phone. Again, this is my commitment. We're going to talk about your commitment, but it illustrates a point. So when I was in banking, I'd say most bankers will answer their phone Monday through Friday till 5 o'clock. Some may answer their phone Saturdays till noon. Some might give you their cell phone. My commitment to you, I'm going to answer my phone 7 days a week. Clearly, I had to negotiate that with my wife, but that's a different story. The point is, that's the commitment I would make to my clients. Do you think that made me outstanding in banking? How many bankers say that? Very few. So again, if you're willing to make that kind of a commitment, if you're willing to make that kind of leap outside your selling phones or cars, like for example, you car salesmen out there, if you say, I'm going to give you my cell phone, anything goes wrong with this car, you call me and I'll call the service department for you. Isn't that commitment? Isn't that commitment? Don't you think that client's going to appreciate that you're willing to make that commitment to that particular client? Now that's sales, and that's a sustainable relationship, and that's dismissing that elephant called why should I trust you after the transaction? So once again, commitment is also about what the client is thinking about. And what is the client thinking about? They're thinking about, what is this person's commitment going to be to me after I sign the contract, right? After I purchase the car, after I buy the phone, are they still going to answer a call from me if something goes wrong? So that's the elephant that they're thinking about inside this tutorial, in this video context, commitment. Your clients are always thinking about, what is your commitment to me after I buy from you? That's the elephant. They're not going to say it. Some might. Most aren't going to say, what are you going to commit to me after the sale? But if you're able to say to them ahead of time, here's my commitment to you, and you can demonstrate that over time, then you become a resource for them. not just a car salesman. You become someone they're going to come to. They're going to give you referrals. Of course they're going to give you referrals. But you've got to be willing to make that commitment. Another piece within the commitment context is establishing an expectation. What do you think I did when I told my clients when I was in banking, I'm answering the phone 7 days a week? I'm establishing an expectation. The bank's expectation is answer the phone down here, Monday through Friday, 8 to 5. Think about that. So what are the expectations inside your sales context? All of you that sell phones or whatever the heck you do, there's an expectation there, right? The office has an expectation that you're supposed to talk to the client. Are you willing to make your own personal commitment beyond the standard expectation in your office? If you're willing to make a commitment higher than what's inside your training and your sales that's ethical, then you become outstanding. You become committed, and you're earning trust, and you're making yourself distinctive. You're doing all three. You're earning trust, you're becoming distinctive, and you're demonstrating commitment, which is making you a resource outside of just that sales call. Does that make sense? Of course, it's not easy to do, but think about making a distinctive commitment, something you're willing to do to your client that no one else in the office is willing to do. And remember, you have to underscore that with ethics. It's got to be ethical. You've got to have standards and ethics. So again, when you make the commitment, make sure it's tied to industry standard ethics and your own ethics. Because again, I'm not ever suggesting you make a commitment that's outside those boundaries. So once again, commitment, it is king. Because if you're willing to demonstrate your own commitment to the client outside the traditional standards of what you're selling, you're going to be outstanding as a salesperson. You're going to have sustainable relationships. You're going to dismiss that third elephant in the room. And you're also going to combine commitment to trust, distinction, and owning commitment. Again, thank you for tuning in.